Now over here on the left, I got a jet black iPhone 7 Plus, 128 gig. On the right here, I have a space gray iPhone 8, 64 gig. And a few people have been asking me this question. This is a confusing one due to the price point. The iPhone 7 Plus you can have for $669 for a 32 gig. That's less than the starting price point of the 64 gig iPhone 8, and I think that might be a confusion for some people. Also, the 128 gig is now only $769 here on the 7 Plus, and to go up to 256 gigs over here, you go all the way up to $849 there on the iPhone 8. So that's what we're going to break down here in this video. I'm going to talk about the specifications first between these two, the ones that matter, primarily. So on the iPhone 7 Plus, we do have a 5.5 inch Retina HD display, 1080p, 401 ppi, 12 megapixel camera on the rear, 4K video recording. We do have the second gen Touch ID, Apple A10 Fusion, 3 gigs of RAM. We know the story here, the stereo speakers, the removal of the headphone jack, IP67 rating. Over here on the iPhone 8, 4.7 inch display, Retina, 326 ppi, 12 megapixel 4K camera, capable up to 4K 60 first on a smartphone, and at least on an iPhone anyway. Second gen Touch ID once again here, no headphone jack, improved speakers on the front, Apple A11 Bionic with 2 gigs of RAM, so less RAM in this boy right here, but you're gonna see later that this boy is actually faster even with less RAM. Okay guys, so let's speak quickly about the body, the builds, and the design. So Apple's been pretty much doing this design for quite a while now, this ovular design or this curved design around the edges here. Since the iPhone 6 Plus, the iPhone 7 Plus is an iteration of that. On the jet black, I wouldn't recommend you get this flavor because, or this, I said flavor like tastes, like I'm gonna eat the iPhone or something. But what I mean by that is this iPhone just scratches up really easily, even though it looks really nice in the right lighting conditions. It actually looks nice here on camera, but up close I do got some dents, some dings. Not as good as the aluminum build here, but the weight here is pretty light for a big phone, and that's what I liked a lot about the iPhone 7 Plus. Overall premium build though on the 7 Plus. Coming over at iPhone 8, this one actually is definitely lighter than the 7 Plus, but not too much lighter, to be honest with you. Now the iPhone 8 gets a little heavier than the iPhone 7, but this guy right here feels a little more premium due to its glass back. So the body and the build and design, very similar here, just that, it kind of is just a touch better than what you had on the 7. But overall, you get that dual camera, so I don't think the design is that much of a deal here, especially if you went with the jet black. That kind of looks the same as this new glass here, if you ask me. Okay guys, so in terms of the front of the phones, they actually look very similar if I turn them off, especially. You wouldn't even be able to tell which was which when it comes to the design. It's the iPhone. It looks the same on the front, and the bottom home button is exactly the same size as well. So all in all, same design we've been seeing for year after year after year on these phones. All right guys, so let me talk displays with you. Here is an area where you really should pay attention when it comes to these smartphones if you're deciding to do an upgrade from the 7 Plus, or if you're gonna be buying one of these just now. So True Tone does make its way here to the iPhone 8. If you don't know what that is, it adjusts the lighting of the phone to like a yellowish warm color and keeps the thing looking pretty natural to the eye no matter what time the day is. However, on the iPhone 7 Plus, you don't get that, but there is an advantage to the 7 Plus. The 7 Plus is going to give you 1080p. What that means is that you have sharper text, more pixels throughout the display, and these displays actually, when it comes to brightness, they're about the same, I would say. I would even say the iPhone 7 Plus might look a little brighter just because it has more screen to kind of shine at your face. So if you were picking up a phone based on display, you're going to pay a little bit more money to get an iPhone 8, and you're going to get a worse display, in my opinion, on the iPhone 8. Now, both of these displays are fantastic in terms of color reproduction, color accuracy. However, if you're looking for one of these phones and for the money you're paying, you're getting a better long-term display, I would say, in the 7 Plus, regardless of the fact that it doesn't have True Tone. Okay guys, so talking about iOS 11, the software you're gonna get here on both of these phones. Now, of course, they run about the same regardless if you get the True Tone feature here on the iPhone 8. The software, I think, runs better on a bigger phone. I don't mean like the performance. What I mean is that it seems to be more optimized for bigger devices. That's why it gets even better on an iPad. So that's just my personal opinion. You might differ. Overall, though, it's a consistent experience. Either one of these you get, you're running day to day the same exact software. Nothing's really going to change here. So don't come into this purchase thinking that you're going to get a feature here and there on your iPhone 7 Plus you're not going to get on your 8. It's just not going to happen. This is not how, Apple works. They pretty much keep everything the same here. So when it comes to software, I think that, having 3 gigs of RAM doesn't matter so much as having an A11. So running it in the long term, I would say that the iPhone 8 is the better choice for, long-term software updates. But in terms of, enjoyment of use, I would go with the 7 Plus. Okay, guys, so this is going to be a tough one to dissect here really quickly, but we're going to break it down for you here on these cameras. So the iPhone 7 Plus gives you that 12 megapixel 4K portrait shooter here. This was really, widely publicized when it first dropped, and a lot of people, especially photographers, portrait photographers, absolutely loved their 7 Plus for this feature, and I think it was a fantastic camera phone. I still didn't prefer it over Samsung's works with their Samsung AMOLED pictures. They just look better to me, just the way they punch up saturation here. I'm gonna use this Nokia 6 to take a sample with both of these. So you do have the ability to go ahead and toggle like this with the 2X, and this has a farther zoom than the iPhone 8. However, I think the iPhone 8 is going to be a better camera phone for those of you who don't really want to be messing around and getting a little bit, super professional with your phone. But you could argue 4K 60 makes its way to the little iPhone 8. So you could be professional and use that. So you see the photo already looks just a little better there on the iPhone 8. Let me go ahead and go over the photo. And you could see it still looks fantastic there on the 7. So there's a 7 Plus. And let's take a look here at the iPhone 8. And there's the 8. So the 8 gives you a little more saturation, a little clearer. There's the 7 Plus. There's the 8. Not that much of a difference here, though. In terms of shutter speed, about the same. You're getting the same software, really. There is one slight difference, and that is that the iPhone 8 will give you the vibrational feedback, so it has nice little feel when you hit the camera icon. Live photos make their way here on both. But here's how I'd break this down. If you care about photography, this is a tough one, but I would say maybe get the 7 Plus over the 8 because you do get yourself that portrait lens. Now, the sheer pictures, you can just easily edit the 7 Pluses to make them look just like the iPhone 8s. And if you want to do video, skip the 7 Plus in this choice between these two and get the iPhone 8 because it does 4K 60, which is fantastic. Overall, though, neither one of these cameras will disappoint. They both have one feature over the other, and that makes it confusing. Photographers, pick the 7 Plus. Videographers, pick the 8. All right, guys, so let's get into battery life between both devices. Now, the 7 Plus is a champ on battery life. I'm going to say that right out of the gate. So is the 8, though. Now, this is a little bit strange, but I'm going to go on record to say my experience with the battery life has been about on par between these two, and I'll tell you why. So I think it comes down to that A11 Bionics efficiency. That chip is very efficient, and I've been finding myself getting very similar battery life to the 7 Plus when I first got this new on the iPhone 8. So the iPhone 8 is a step up in battery life for a smaller iPhone. I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, but this is a nice little battery life phone here if you want a smaller phone with some good juice to keep you going all day. Now, I do think the 7 Plus maybe have slightly longer battery life through heavier use, like when you're really pounding on it, but just normal tasking and daily, use, it's about the same, to be honest with you here, regardless of their different capacity sizes. Now, talking about the 8 Plus, that's a big update, but you're trying to make the choice here between these two. Battery life, both are going to give you some great juice. If you want to know specific numbers, we get about 7 to 8 hours on screen time on each. Okay, guys, so let's talk performance between buying a 7 Plus and an iPhone 8. Now, I don't want to come up here and just talk pure paper performance, oh, it's an A11, it's faster, it benches more on Geekbench. Well, of course, it's the newer chip. I would expect it to bench more on Geekbench. I'm going to talk about my experience with these, and this should help you decide which one you should buy here for performance. So taking these out of the box, you can take them out of the box, and if you don't put these side by side, you will not see no difference. Clearly, you've seen right there, slightly faster on the 8. Going into something like clock, some system apps here, it's just a tinkle faster on the iPhone 8. Going into, oh, I skipped that one out. Let's go to weather again. Let's close out weather there on the 7 Plus. And going in the weather, you can see just a slight bit faster there on the iPhone 8. And that's pretty much it around the board. This phone totally just feels a slight bit faster. So if you're buying either one of these, that's not to say neither one of these are powerful. These things are powerhouses. Both of them will fly through everything you do day to day. And I'm talking everything: movie editing, video editing, downloading apps, playing games, multitasking, whatever you want to do with these boys, they're going to get the job done here. And that's to say for, I would say, quite a long time. Now, if you want to push AR, forget about the 7 Plus. It'll do it, but you're going to want the 8. If you're going to be rendering video and all the time, or you're going to be, I would say, doing some music stuff like with GarageBand, stuff like that, I'd get the 8. But if you don't find yourself using your phone like that, get the 7 Plus. It's a better value here between these phones because it's only, again, a slight bit faster on the 8. Okay, guys, so let's talk about the audio and calling experience. So I think the 8 actually does better here than the 7 Plus. Now, I don't know if it was my unit, but I've had quite a few, issues with people hearing me speak on my iPhone 7 Plus. This is probably totally just my phone, and the speakers sound clearer and crisper on the iPhone 8. So if you care a lot about your audio, I would say skip out the 7 Plus here and just go for the 8. You're going to like it a little bit better. And what about the conclusion here? Which one is the phone to go with? Is it the 7 Plus here? Should you buy this one or should you buy the iPhone 8? I hope this video really gave you a lot of sections that you could break this down with. But to me, of these two, because they are in such a close price quarters, I still think the 8 is the better choice. And I just think it offers the better feeling build. Yes, it's smaller, but it just looks better to me. It feels better in the hand. It's faster, snappier. I said a slight bit faster, but at the end of the day, when we get into the newer softwares, it's going to be a faster phone. Also, the photos, you don't need to edit stuff to get better photos. 4K 60 is groundbreaking, and it's mostly, the future of iPhone, why I would say pick up this 8. It's very close to the same price, but the iPhone 7 Plus, I would say, if you're trying to get the big screen iPhone, but you don't want to go iPhone 10, you don't want to go iPhone 8 Plus, and this one's not even in your mind, that's where I would say killer value here on the iPhone 7 Plus. And I'm not trying to make this video saying that this is not a great phone. This is a fantastic smartphone, almost a perfect smartphone if it had a headphone jack, if you ask me. Anyway, I hope this video helped you make your decision. If you guys found this video helpful, enjoyable, hit that thumbs up for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing.